Welcome to StopFake, the place where we set the record straight on disinformation about Ukraine. I'm Marko Suprun with StopFake's latest dissection of the Russian alternate reality. This week's stories include claims that Ukrainians are not at all interested in visa-free travel to the EU countries, the country's premier jazz festival is to be cancelled, and we look at the top 5 Russian fakes about the United States. So get your shovels and let's start digging to get to the truth. Visa-free travel to the EU Schengen zone for Ukrainian citizens remains a favorite topic for the Russian disinformation machine. The latest story to join the already long list of fakes dedicated to this topic is the claim that most Ukrainians are not interested in visa-free travel to the EU at all. The source for this fake claim is a poll by the Democratic Initiatives Foundation, conducted in the beginning of June, the results of which have been totally misrepresented by the Russian media. One of the questions asked was, quote, "How important is the introduction of the visa-free regime with the EU countries for you?" 10% answered very important, 29% chose important, 24% said slightly important, 34% opted for not important, and nearly 4% responded it was difficult to say. So, only 34% said that visa-free travel to EU countries was not important. But Russian media decided to lump slightly important and not important together, and that gave them 58%, and claim that the majority of Ukrainians were not at all interested in this new and exciting opportunity. However, when you add the numbers that answered very important, generally important, and slightly important, you get 63%. 63% of Ukrainians feel that visa-free travel for them has some level of importance. That's the real result of the Democratic Initiatives poll. Now, one of the attributes of propaganda is the attempt to appear to be truthful and authentic to its audience. And for this, propaganda's claims are often backed up by distorted results of sociological surveys. Russia's Defense Ministry television channel Zvezda published a story claiming that Lviv's Alpha Jazz Fest, Ukraine's premier jazz festival, was to be cancelled because of the rubbish collection problem the city is currently grappling with. Zvezda's fake story is based on a view expressed by Ukraine's Member of Parliament, Mr. Oleg Musi. In an interview with the Ukrainian National News Agency, Musi said that uncollected rubbish in Lviv posed a danger to people's health, and he would not recommend that people travel to Lviv. Cancelling the festival would be the right thing to do in view of the garbage problem, he said. Now, StopFake reached out to the organizers of Alpha Jazz Fest to inquire about the festival's cancellation. Olga Kondratyuk, the festival's public relations spokeswoman, told us there were no plans to cancel the festival. The question was not even up for discussion. Although Zvezda claimed in its headline that the festival was to be cancelled, in the body of the story, the authors explain that this is only a recommendation by a former minister. This did not stop the Russian agency Sputnik from republishing the fake story almost word for word. The current acting health minister, Dr. Marko Suprun, visited Lviv to assess the situation and ascertain whether the uncollected rubbish posed a health hazard. In a Facebook post, Suprun wrote that while the center of Lviv was free of rubbish, the outlying areas had many piles of uncollected garbage. Suprun said that she saw no grounds for declaring an emergency situation in Lviv. Ukraine is not the only favorite topic of Russian disinformation. The United States gets top billing as well. The gurus that do the analytics at StopFake did some calculations and came up with the top 5 fakes that concern the United States. And here they are. Number 1. Tillerson names conditions under which Crimea would be recognized as Russian. At the beginning of this year, scores of Russian media manipulated statements made by then Secretary of State nominee Rex Tillerson during his congressional confirmation hearing, claiming that Tillerson named the conditions under which America would be prepared to recognize Crimea as Russian territory. They conveniently ignored the fact that Tillerson agreed that Russia's annexation of Crimea was illegal and violated Ukraine's sovereignty. Tillerson did not outline any conditions for such recognition. On the contrary, he said that Russia had no right to take Crimea, and the weak response for this action from the United States embolden Moscow. Number 2, U.S. unhappy with Ukraine, looking for Poroshenko replacement. In December of last year, scores of Russian media disseminated a story alleging that Washington was dissatisfied with the Ukrainian government and was looking to replace Petro Poroshenko, president of Ukraine, relying on so-called anonymous sources and manipulating various statements made by political analysts. Those fake stories presented a completely distorted picture of U.S.-Ukraine relations. Number 3, White House admits Russia's sanction policy a failure. Now, last November, the Russian website Ukraina.ru declared that the White House has announced its sanctions policy against Russia to be a failure. In an article entitled "State Department Clarifies Its Position on Ukraine After Trump Victory," the site quoted White House spokesman Josh Earnest out of context and created the impression that the U.S. was admitting defeat in its sanction policy. Number 4, American snipers in the Donbass. In the autumn of 2016, Russian media was awash with stories that American snipers were fighting on the Ukrainian side in the eastern occupied territories. The source for that claim was the intelligence service of the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic and its spokesman, Edward Basurin. Mr. Basurin is a virtual treasure trove of disinformation. Please check out our website for some of his most outlandish pronouncements. And finally, number 5 on our list, U.S. accuses Ukraine of genocide against its people. Last April, Russian media disseminated a story claiming that during a meeting with business leaders, U.S. President Donald Trump accused Ukraine of waging genocide against its people. Donald Trump allegedly made this accusation during a business roundtable, which was reported by CNN Radio, Russian sites claimed. However, CNN never ran such a report anywhere, not on radio, not on television, nor on their website. That's it for this week. Be vigilant and beware of fakes. If you spot any disinformation about Ukraine, send it to us for a truth autopsy. Remember to stay healthy, don't consume fake news. Your brain will thank you, and you can help prevent the psychological climate of society from suffering a precipitous decline. I'm Marko Suprun, and this is StopFake. Thanks for watching.